Andy, it's that time of year in my neighborhood where it's hard to go out at night anymore
Yeah.
because our neighborhood is we've been cited in various publications in and around Charlotte for being like one of the top 10 places to go for lights,
Oh,
right?
nice.
And so, like, we have those, you've seen them because you visit our house, but like, our neighborhood has got like the little Charleston style colonial
Yeah.
southern homes or whatever. Great with the porches and stuff, but that makes it great for decorating, right?
Yeah.
And so almost everybody, I would say there's probably close to 1,000 homes in our neighborhood. I would say probably, no, maybe that's way too much. 90% of the homes are decorated with lights. And it's not just one string of lights. I mean, a lot of people put up like wrap their
Yeah.
porches, or some people go way over and put up like the big, like we have one family, I swear they start the day after Thanksgiving, and every day they put up a new inflatable thing. So they've got like 10 inflatables. And you would think, oh, that's got to be like kind of gaudy or whatever. It's
Yeah.
actually kind of fun to see some of those. And so but like to go out at night now, even if you have to get like eggs for baking or something, like you're now in traffic leaving your own neighborhood. And that's kind of just that's tough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We have a little bit here. Like there's one house that goes like I mean like cars park out front. There you can dial into the radio station and listen. Like it's crazy. I walk my dogs and I go blind, like passing the house. I feel like they overwhelmed their neighbors. Like their neighbors used to put up more decor, and I feel like everybody sort of said like we're just gonna let this thing run and like have the entire street. And so it's strange. But do you feel pressure, Dave? Do you feel like peer pressure that you have to decorate, to like be part of the community, or like can you optionally abstain and still like, go to the mailbox and not be taunted by your neighbors?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because like I don't think it's a lot to just put up some lights. So like and so when I see a family that doesn't have it, I kind of think I'm like, well, like should we go ask them if they want to put up like
Yeah.
I'm happy to decorate for them because we do live in a little bit of an older neighborhood
Yeah.
somewhat. I mean there's a lot of young families, but there's also it was originally like a 55 and over community, and so there's a lot of older people there. But I do sometimes have to like hold back and like, hey, can I set up lights for you? Because it'd be nice to have something on your. But no, it's fine. It really is fine. So, but it it does make me wonder
The
sometimes.
pressure, the pressure.
All right, Andy,
Yeah.
we've got a
Yeah.
lot to get into
All right,
today.
let's do it. Let's do it.
We got a big football weekend.
Yeah, huge.
Do you want to start college or pro?
Okay, let's do college, kind of kick things off. Also, we'll talk about the NFL and how they kind of like overwhelm everybody else in sports. But let's start with college. I want to hear your takes here because you're really dialed into this, and I had some questions and thoughts. So I want to hear it.
Okay, so I got a lot of takes. So one, first and foremost, let's start the clock here. But first and foremost, Penn State came out victorious. Okay, so let's circle back there in a minute.
Yeah,
The first round started on Friday night. Notre Dame, it said 24-17 or 28-17, whatever the final score was. It really wasn't that close. Notre Dame was in control the whole game. Indiana scored two late touchdowns. It was kind of garbage thing, but Notre Dame dominated to kick things off. Then Penn State played, and before you knew it, they were up 21 nothing,
yeah,
won 38-10. That game was followed by um, Texas and Clemson, who Texas got out to a huge lead. Kudos to Clemson for pulling it back in. They had a chance a couple times um, to potentially hold it to seven and maybe even tie the game, but then Texas would pull away and they won by 14. They were in control for most of that game.
yeah,
Clemson did make a pretty good run. And then the night game, Andy, was the 8-9 game, which was Tennessee and Ohio State. And it was 21 nothing before the end of the first quarter.
yeah,
And Tennessee tried to make a little bit of effort. It was 21-10 at half, and you thought maybe if they scored early in the second quarter, it could be really a game. But Ohio State wound up winning that one 37, 38-17 or something like that. Really big blowout. Now, I am a believer like the committee, the 12 teams is right.
yeah,
where I think they have to go back and reevaluate is like Southern SMU playing Penn State should not have been like there should have been another team. It should have been South Carolina or Alabama, one of those two teams. And then you have Arizona State and Boise now are waiting for, I mean, Arizona State's going to play Texas and Boise's going to play Penn State. Both Penn State and Texas are over 10-point favorites on these
Yeah,
teams. You have to work this out a little bit better. But as far as like the football, it was I was in heaven. Like I loved being able to turn on and watch a first round playoff game. Because what you remember in the NCAA basketball tournament, you get these players who are like, "Ooh, is this going to be their tournament? Are they going to rise their draft
yeah,
stock
yeah.
now?" And all so, like you can see that happen in football. So I love the format. I think they need to make some tweaks, and I think they will. But I really enjoyed it. I want to pause there for a minute, and then I'm going to come back to my Penn State take. But did you watch any of it or did you check
So
any of it?
I didn't sit and watch a game. I was kind of like monitoring, what was happening in the scores and seeing some of the like gaps, between the scoring and I was
Yeah,
talking about my sense of like it was sort of surprising. I think you're right. I mean, I think they overall did a good job picking these teams, but just seemed not balanced, right? Just seemed
yeah.
pretty not balanced. And like it didn't occur to me fully because I don't pay that. I'm not. I don't follow it that closely until I sat and I re-looked at the bracket after our pod on Friday, and I was like, wait, where's Alabama? And then it dawned on me that Alabama wasn't in the tournament. I was like, that can't be right, So it does seem like maybe there's some tweaking to do to just get maybe like the legitimately best 12 teams, but it's hard. I mean, it's hard because of what
I know
causes, but
it is.
I feel like it's an exciting chance to see this happening. It's going to continue to be refined, but look, it's college playoff football. Like
Yeah.
that's crazy, right? That just like we were talking about, like it's just a crazy idea. I was excited to see it, and I was super. I was watching the Penn State scores because I know you're such a fan. I was like, Dave's winning, so it was really fun to see that. It was really fun to see that.
You even sent me a text too, and it was
Yeah,
fun. What I thought was really cool too is the first round was in the play in the venues of the home team. Like that's a great college atmosphere. Like Penn State had a whiteout. Notre Dame was super loud on Friday night under the lights. I mean and each of the teams wore some variation of a jersey different than normal, and I thought that was really cool to see that. Now the next round of the playoffs, the quarterfinals now, are in traditional bowl sites. I wish like so the top four teams they get the bye, but they don't get to play on their home venue. I think that might need to be tweaked because it would be kind of cool to have like those top four teams being able to play in their home stadium. But that I really enjoyed it. It was a really good. To your point, Alabama wasn't in. They were 9-3,
yeah,
where SMU was 11-2 or 12-2 or whatever their record was. The committee seemed to favor wins and record versus like the quality of those wins. If you looked at SMU, it just wasn't. They played in the ACC, which was not good, and they didn't even play the top three teams in the ACC during the regular season because of the weird scheduling that goes through. South Carolina was playing some of the best football in the country. They had a dynamic defense and a quarterback. They both, either one of those would have given Penn State a tougher game than SMU would have been.
yeah.
But and let me talk real quickly. Penn State was winning 38 to 10, they won 38 to 10. So you like, oh, it's all comfortable. As a Penn State fan, it wasn't until the fourth quarter when they went up 38 to 3 that I texted my brother and said, okay, I can relax now. That's how fucking paranoid I am about these Penn State teams. Like just knowing that they could blow these games. And it's just surreal sometimes.
Yeah,
So
it's hard. I think when your team has hurt you in the past, it's hard sometimes to have that confidence in them, and especially in these big games. But hey, they got the win. They're moving on. They've got I think it's fair to say they've got a winnable game. I know they're not the
yeah,
favorite, but a winnable game coming up here, and then it might get a little bit harder. I
yeah.
think, but it's exciting.
Yeah, so now you have to reset for everyone. On December 31st is going to be Penn State plays Boise. That's the 3-6 matchup. And then on January 1st, you have Notre Dame versus Georgia. That's 2-7. You have Ohio State versus Oregon, which is the 1-8 game. And then you have Texas versus Arizona State. That's the 3 or 4-5 game. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, yeah, 4-5 game. So it's gonna be exciting. I think this is a good format. So I like it.
Yeah.
Wish the games would have been a little bit tighter, but look, everything I could have asked for, I think for the most part was in play there. So good college football weekend, Andy. So
Yeah, good football weekend, Dave. Good football weekend.
well, let's go into that good football weekend, Andy. So crazy like weeks. Is it 16? This is week
Yeah.
16.
Yep.
More weeks left to play, and there's still a ton of questions out there, Andy. I have four questions for you, but and I didn't prep you on it because that's just not how I roll, Andy. I want to make you surprised, but first of all, how are you feeling about your Lions? Pretty convincing win
Yeah.
against the Bears, which continue to free fall.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about your Lions?
Yes, I mean this was a game that look if the Lions are a real contender for the Super Bowl, this is a game that even with the injuries, which are frustrating as can be, like they had to go out there and win, right? And not win like on a last minute play, but go out there and win. And they went out and just owned the Chicago Bears. I mean they won really all phases of the game. They had lots of players involved. People stepped up. You saw Jameer Gibbs running great. They ran the fumble Rooski, Dave.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
It was great. I mean, like they just won the game. They were the better team in all aspects of the game, and they needed to be. Like the Bears aren't a good team. We know this, and so the Lions did what they needed to do. It was great. It was great to see it, and they held on. And with an Eagles loss, you were coming down to the wire here. I mean, I've got to cheer for the Green Bay Packers this coming weekend to beat the Vikings, but which I hate. But it's exciting. We're coming down to the final steps here, and Detroit's doing everything they possibly can do to be the team they need to be to get to the Super Bowl, and it's exciting to see that. But dude, can I back us up one question before you dive into your four? Can I get you one quick question here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The NFL loves to just tell everybody else that they're the best league in all sports. They took over Christmas last year, crushed the NBA with Christmas Day games. They're doing it again this year. This weekend, college football, big deal. And here comes Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs on Saturday playing football. What do you think about the NFL just suffocating everybody else and taking, hey, it's our day. We don't care what you're doing. We're playing NFL football today.
So this is I was actually thinking about this because yeah, the NFL has played on Christmas before, right? I mean, had Christmas Day games before. It's not been a big surprise. Christmas this year is on a Wednesday, which is not a typical football game. And the NBA has owned this day. They have
Yeah,
five of their marquee games. A lot of people say the NBA doesn't really kick off until Christmas because, that's when the games really start going. But but I do think this is a big fuck you to every other sports league.
yeah,
And you know what? We are the NFL. I know you have your college football playoff. I know you have your NBA games. We own the calendar. And I actually was wondering, like, why did it take the NBA this long to say, why are we giving up on Christmas?
yeah,
Like, why shouldn't we just own that day? And it's very creative because they had last Sunday, they had the Sunday games. Then they had four teams play on Saturday. So they're on a 5-day rest, a shorter week.
yeah.
Then they played on Saturday so that they could play on
That's
Wednesday.
right.
So I just have to think that they're going to do some more schedule shenanigans next year. Like if Christmas is on a Thursday, well, watch out for
Yeah,
Thursday games. I can't remember
yeah,
what it's going to do. But if Christmas was on a Tuesday, I wouldn't be surprised if you had them start, putting four teams on that Thursday so that they can play on Tuesday. I think the NBA or the NFL has now said we own Christmas. It's in our season. It's the end of the year. There are a lot of hot games. Uh, I, you're right, Andy. I think you're absolutely right.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I love the NFL. It's really my only like die-hard following sport, but I think it is a big FU to everybody. It's kind of funny. But Dave, I knew the place you wanted to go, so I just wanted to ask
yeah,
that
yeah.
before.
Let's go through some four quick questions here. I got
Do it.
three really tough ones and then one kind of fun one. But
All right.
okay, Andy, did the Niners actually have the most disappointing season this year? They're officially eliminated from the playoffs. They're going to have a losing record. The
Yeah,
season from how Christian McCaffrey barely played, they had so many injuries. Brock Purdy now looks like, but I know you've not been a big fan of like the
yeah,
Brock Purdy lore, but
yeah.
is this the worst season ever for some team?
I don't know if it's the worst season ever, but it's definitely a big fall. If you look, the Niners were very strong last year. You know, they beat the Lions in the championship. The Lions could have won it, let it go. The Niners won. We're expected to come in and maybe get back to the Super Bowl again this year. Complete fail, complete fail. And you see this happen with teams as their players get a little bit older. You know, there's a lot of contract activity going into the season for the Niners. We knew Brock Purdy was not Joe Montana. It's kind of been fun to watch, to be honest. I mean, I like the Niners, but it's been kind of fun to watch this collapse. Detroit's got them this coming week. I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I don't think the Niners are a terrible team.
Um,
They're just this just isn't their year. You know, and Christian McCaffrey, incredible talent, but always injured. And if he gets injured, just throws everything off for a team. So, I mean, if you remember, the Niners weren't good until they got McCaffrey last year. They got him. He got healthy. He played great. He went out this year, changed everything about that team. Same thing as he used to do in Carolina.
Okay, good response there, Andy. Good job. All right, next question. Who wins the last playoff spot in the AFC? Colts, Bengals, or Dolphins? Andy, they all three,
Yeah,
right? 7 and 8 right now, I think. And they have to win out, but the Colts have two very easy wins. The Dolphins have two very easy wins. This goes back to what we talked about earlier in the season. You don't win like if you have these games that you should win and you lose, like
it
they come
hurts.
back and haunt you at the end of the year, and the Bengals are probably going to miss the playoffs, I think, Andy.
Yeah, the Dolphins and the Bengals are probably both better than the Chargers and the Broncos, but because of the schedule, because of those early season fumbles, Tua being hurt, they just fell back, and it's a hard mountain to climb back up. So the other teams get the edge. So I mean, the AFC could go a number of different ways with these final couple spots. None of the teams are that great. I mean, we know
Yeah.
that it's going to end up coming down to the strong teams. I'm not including the Steelers in that. I think the Steelers aren't as strong as they sometimes looked, but it's going to be the Chiefs, it's going to be the Bills, it's going to be the Ravens. One of those teams is probably going to the Super Bowl for the AFC again. So they can duke it out for who gets to play one more game, but that's as far as they're going.
Yeah, I should say the Broncos are at risk here. They're 9-6 right now. They could be 9-8, very easily losing their last two games
Yeah.
here as well. Okay, Andy, two more quick questions.
Yep.
Is the Jalen Hurts concussion injury now, is that changing the playoffs? I mean, I think it obvious clearly is changing the playoffs, but whoo, what a tough situation right now for them.
It is, but look, Kenny Pickett didn't do terrible, right? Jalen will be back. I mean, he went into the concussion protocol. He'll be back probably next week. The Eagles have very winnable games in their last two. Your Dallas Cowboys, who won last night, and the Washington Commanders. But I was looking at this yesterday. My youngest son is a big Eagles fan. We were talking about it for a little while, and this might have helped everybody. The Eagles are pretty much a lock for the 2 seed at this point, right? They're probably going to lock up that 2 seed. They can kind of rest and recover and recuperate and get
Yeah.
ready to really go into the playoffs with their best foot forward. So it might not have been a terrible thing for them. They don't get to be the 1 seed. That might be okay, right? It's still going to go through Philly, and unless they get to the championship and the Lions are still in, or the Vikings, whoever's that 1 seed, so it might not be bad for them. And it kind of gives everybody a little breathing room because if the Lions now, lock up the 1 seed next week, if that happens, they also get to rest going to week 18. So it might have not been a bad thing for the Eagles and the Lions overall. And I think Jalen Hurts will be right back and smashing the football with, tush pushes and everything else. So great victory for the Commanders. I mean, great victory for the Commanders. Exciting finish. Didn't think they were going to get it done. That was awesome to see. But I don't think it's a big consequence, really. But I think it does add some definity to the NFC side.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think it helped the Commanders obviously pretty well lock up that playoff spot. But the Eagles are so far ahead now. At
Yeah.
this point, they can just rest and really won't have much of an impact.
Most
Last,
importantly, Dave, best meme I saw NFL memes on Blue Sky. Everybody being sad that the Eagles lost the game. Jalen gets concussion, but that loss eliminated your Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers from the playoffs, and everybody loves that. So it ended up being a net good.
okay, so Andy, that's my last question. Would the Cowboys have been better with Cooper Rush being the quarterback all year long versus Dak Prescott?
No, no,
Okay.
no,
Uh,
Cooper, no, that's crazy talk.
Okay, I'm just saying this out there, Andy.
I don't know
Like,
that Dak, like a lot of quarterbacks, Dak made a lot of money that, the returns are questionable, right? But so did Kirk Cousins, so did a lot of other people. Sam Darnold's going to get paid a ton of money, going into this next season. the Brock Purdy question is out there. Somebody's going to pay Brock Purdy to be their quarterback next year, and he's going to make too much money. It's out of control. But no, like no, like Dak is a much better quarterback than Cooper Rush.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. Yeah, I guess we'll go with that, Andy. We just paid Dak a lot of money. We paid CD Lamb a lot of money. We're gonna pay Micah Parsons a lot of money.
Yeah. I don't know
He
if you are. I think Micah Parsons might. I mean, he's a Philly boy, Dave. He might want to get out of Dallas
he did
and go
go to
back
Penn
home.
State, so he could
Yeah,
be, if Philly got Micah Parsons, that'd be freaking crazy. Like here's the question, Andy. Let's talk about sports owners just for a minute, and then I got a couple other things to go to because you hit a big thing. It's like, there's a salary cap in football, so you can't really bust the salary cap. But in like the other sports, there's penalties for spending too much.
yeah,
Like the NBA now has a really high, it's not a salary cap, but it's like if you go above this, then you have to pay these taxes. Baseball, you kind of have the same thing too. Like if you're a sports owner, usually you're probably a billionaire at this point. You have to be.
yeah.
Like, do you really care, like, if you get a luxury tax imposed upon you if your team is like awesome? Like, why wouldn't you spend the money for the best players? I always wonder about like if you're a sports owner, why are you being on the cheap? Like, because there are a lot of teams like my Orioles right now. I know the owner wants to spend, but the previous owner, he didn't want to spend it all. I mean, he
Yeah.
was like, what value does that have to be a cheap owner?
I,
The the A's were like this too. I don't know.
I think some of the clubs make a lot of money anyway, right? I mean, there's part of the problem with, I mean, like the Lions, for example, the Lions were making a lot of money even as a lousy team. And the ownership seemed to be generally content with, we're going to make money, we're going to sell merch, we're doing fine, we're selling tickets, we've got big name draws, we don't have to necessarily spend a lot to win. That kind of was the story of the Ford family's ownership, purposely or otherwise, until the great leadership of Sheila Ford Hemp, who's absolutely amazing as an owner. And you see that, right? I mean, teams know that they can make a lot of money. Dan Snyder in Washington was a great example. It's like they sucked. That guy sucked the life out of Washington, but he made a ton of money along the way, right? He made a ton of money with his lousy stadium, with his lousy team, with his lousy leadership, with all the bad things that happened. But they still make a lot of money, right? And so if your goal is profit and your pocketbook, and you don't really actually care or understand how to lead a team, I don't know if you really care. So I think you're on the cheap because you want to make money, you want that profitability. You don't really care if you're the number one team in the league or not. You're still happy and doing fine. That sucks. Like that's not how a team should be run. But I think it works for those that, if their interest is purely profit.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, Dan Snyder is a great example because like he destroyed that franchise.
Yeah,
And yet they're one of the highest valued franchises in the world. And
yeah,
for what? Like they haven't had anything I mean, they've been worse than the Cowboys have been in terms of the Cowboys at least win. I mean, the Redskins, Commanders, Washington football team, they weren't winning at all.
yeah.
Speaking of another question on that, Andy, there's a lot of movement now to bring the Commanders back into DC
It's happening.
as for all those years, RFK Stadium was one of the like craziest places to play football and anywhere.
Yeah.
I went to a couple games there. It was an amazing place, loud but old and rickety, so they moved it into Maryland. Now there's talk about bringing it back into DC. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, it just got funded, in this bill to keep the government open. It just got funded to bring basically to revitalize RFK Stadium and expected to bring Washington back there. Look, their FedEx Field stinks. Getting out there stinks. Like
Yeah.
it's terribly located. There's nothing good about it. And I think, to be honest, more than anything else, everybody just wants to end anything to do with Dan Snyder. The Washington Commanders should not be playing in Maryland. Like they should not be playing in Maryland. They want to claim Virginia as sort of their base for support. They're playing in Maryland. It makes no sense. You've got to at least play in Washington, D.C., and they should be playing in Washington, D.C. D.C.'s done a great job of revitalizing certain communities with, the Nat Stadium, with Audi Field, what they've done downtown in the D.C. Wharf area. They should, build RFK back up. I don't know if they should do it with federal funding or not. That's another story. But I think it's exciting for the team. I think it's exciting for the fans. like it's a good thing, and it's probably going to happen. So I think the Commanders could do well here.
Okay, well, there you go. Speaking of funding and such, Andy, there was a government shutdown averted over the weekend.
Yeah.
I'll admit I wasn't following this too terribly closely. I didn't particularly care a whole lot, but any thoughts on the averting a shutdown, Andy?
I mean, it just goes to the absolute failure that is
Yeah.
Congress and the White House in every way. And I say the White House really not to Joe Biden, but to the incoming administration because they were the ones who were driving, the discussions. Like keeping the government open, whether you like the spending bills or don't like that's a basic fundamental requirement of Congress. Like it shouldn't ever be a question of whether the government be open. Yeah, we have this conversation all the time because they're absolutely incompetent and they're playing politics. And like what a lot of people don't realize is like the amount of work that goes into preparing for government shutdown is insane. So while you're facing this, frustration, like you're losing so much time and wasting so many resources on preparing for a government shutdown that in most cases doesn't happen as it didn't happen this time around. But our civil servants are out there doing all these stupid, unnecessary things because they have to, because government might close, and that stops a lot of basic services that people are expecting what everything is spending, and I've got a lot of thoughts on spending. Like we need to reduce spending, we need to do better, we need to be more efficient, blah 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 blah. There's a lot you can get into there. Not being able to basically keep the government open without a crisis moment, three attempts, last minute, crisis averted. Like that's not a success story. That says, hey, Speaker of the House, you suck because you're not being able to do basic things. It's a failure of leadership across the board, across the board. And there's a lot we can get into there, David. I don't have time for it today from those outside of government that are influencing this process, the incoming administration and their take on this process. It is just it's a terrible way to start out the incoming administration. It's a terrible testimony to absolute failure that is our Congress today. And this happened. Both sides have been involved in this. But I mean, right now, like Speaker Johnson, like you are not doing a good job. Like you are failing the American people by wasting time on these types of efforts instead of actually passing meaningful legislation. But remarkably, even in this failure, you get funding for the Washington Commanders Stadium, which is like, come on,
Yeah.
guys.
Way to pull that button back into there,
Yeah,
Amy.
yeah. What are we
Um,
doing?
I know Elon listens to our pod, so I'm
Yeah,
sure he'll
yeah.
probably be like, I need to pull Andy in here to be part of Doge. I think that'd be, yeah.
I'll gladly share some thoughts with Elon and whoever else, and they might not be ones they want to hear, Dave, but I'm happy to have that conversation when they're ready.
I thought there were a lot of memes of Elon before the election and everything. It's like going to overdrive now, Andy. Like
Yeah,
it's like memes of him sitting at the Oval Office desk and Trump like feeding him and all this other stuff.
yeah.
Like there's a lot of good stuff out
There's
there.
like I said, and it's an absolute. It's just we're in a messy time, Dave. We're in a messy time. But hey, I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone.
Yeah, the only thing I'll end on that is that I felt like I wouldn't have been surprised if they went to a shutdown only to test and see what services actually people cared about and complained about and said, okay, we'll cut those other ones. So still a lot to happen. January 21st is not too far away, and it's going to be very fascinating. Or I mean, January 20th is the inauguration day or whatever, but what happens the day after is going to be very fascinating to see how it goes. Okay, Andy, don't want to end on a dull point
Yeah,
right before the holidays. Any holiday cheers you want to give? We're not going to pot on Wednesday. We'll pot on Friday,
yeah.
but we're going to take the day off, celebrate with our families, and any lasting holiday thoughts,
I'll
Andy?
say it's a fun time of the year. I think it's fun when Hanukkah and Christmas align like they do this year because sort of everybody's celebrating, everybody's having fun, and not again, I recognize people that aren't celebrating either of those holidays, but I feel like whether you're celebrating Christmas based in faith or based in tradition or just based in buying lots of stuff you don't need, like America's having a good time at this time of the year, and so for everybody, I hope we can like chill out, like less of the vitriol and the socials and on the news, and like just have fun with this time of the year. Enjoy, friends, family, or quiet time. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. Like enjoy this time of the year. I'm excited about it. I've been looking forward to this. Just slow down. I'm going to spend more time at work today than I had wanted to, but I'm trying to slow down myself these next couple of weeks and just enjoy the season. Hopefully, there's no crazy activity. And we saw another tragic incident in Germany, unfortunately. Friday we're going to see there's going to be stuff that happens, but hopefully most of us can just enjoy this holiday season. I feel like America has earned a break. Like America needs a good holiday season day. So, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Happy holidays to all that are listening that have been with us, for this year. And look forward to enjoying the end of the year podcast with you and our listeners. And just let's just enjoy the year and let's maybe like be nice to one another.
Let's be nice to one another. It's said in the best Bill and Ted. Be excellent to one
Yeah,
another.
beautiful, beautiful. That's nice.
All right, Andy. I will echo those thoughts and just say thank you all for who have listened this year. We still got some more podcasts left this year, but thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoy however you celebrate these next couple days, whether it's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, or whatever. Please celebrate responsibly, but also have a great time. And yeah, enjoy this time with family, friends, whoever you choose to celebrate with, your loved ones, or whatnot. But thank you for listening. And with that, Andy, we'll catch up with you on the other side of the Christmas holiday.